Instagram for 100 days and I'm a new person now. I was researching a lot about social media addiction because, quite frankly, I felt like I was addicted. And slowly I want to come out of it. So I thought I'll just go cold turkey and I'll quit Instagram because that was the only social media I was actually active on. And I decided, you know what, let me just quit because I was facing a number of problems even without actually realizing that these were problems. I would constantly doom scroll, and honestly, it's such a waste of time because you're not getting anything out of it. You're not even getting happiness out of it. And then I just felt like it was also about validation. I was constantly checking about the likes I was getting or the comments I was getting, or I was being too invested in other people's lives. Also indulging in wasteful knowledge. For example, you don't have to sit there and watch people's Reddit conversation, or it's like people asking you AITA or just random conversations of people. I was getting indulged in conversation of idiots in the comment section, and I'm like, what are we actually doing here? Why am I wasting my time here? And that's when I thought to myself, before social media this was never a thing. You never knew what was happening in the rest of the world unless it was like a really huge news. And now even the tiniest little things from the other side of the world, we all know it because of social media. And I just feel like you don't need some knowledge. I sometimes feel like ignorance is bliss. You don't have to actually indulge in this conversation of strangers or where people are simply fighting over the silliest things, and the internet is a place where people get offended for everything. Like, you would never see people in real life talk like that, but on the internet you're going to find people who are offended for everything, and you indulging in this is, first of all, you're wasting your time, your energy, and your mental health, honestly. So I just thought to myself, you know what, that is it, we're going out. And when you're indulging in these conversations, you're unconsciously or consciously sometimes exposing yourself to toxicity, because the internet 90% of the time has miserable people in there. And I'm saying this because people who are genuinely happy with their lives and genuinely fulfilled with their lives are not chronically online. And also about the internet is like, anyone can have access to the internet, be it creepy, narcissistic, or generally bad people. They can have access to the internet, and the thing is, you can be in contact with them or listen to their content. It could be a harmless conversation, but then you are interacting with these sadistic, bad, narcissistic people, and that simply is not okay, and I simply don't want to put myself through that. And another point or another problem that I was facing is, well, unconsciously I was comparing myself to people on social media who were showing their perfect life. For example, the morning routines on social media, nobody wakes up that aesthetically. Nobody wakes up with their perfect hair, with their tons of makeup. It may look like they've just woken up, but they're not. That's the sad reality of social media. It's all fake. Most of the time it's fake, and we think it's real, and we start comparing, and we are miserable in our real lives. It's not just me who feels like that. Do you actually wake up with a giant smile in your face? No, we all wake up half sleepy. We go to the bathroom and splash some water on our face just to wake up. We don't get up with that, I'm so happy, or I'm so like, my life is so perfect. So basically what I'm trying to say is, half the things on social media is not real. And all this comparing, wasting time, indulging in toxicity, and just talking to strangers I don't want to talk, or interacting with strangers I don't want to give an access to my life, was kind of new, was kind of weird actually. Before analyzing all these things, I kind of quit social media. I didn't go online, I didn't post anything, I wasn't commenting anywhere, so I was just off it. But the thing about me is I'm also very good at going back to the starting point, so this time I was determined. And it actually worked. What I did is I uninstalled the app completely off my device. So even if I wanted to go online, I couldn't go online because the app doesn't exist on my phone anymore. But this wasn't easy. It was hard not to scroll. My thumbs were twitching and restless. And I was asking myself, how am I going to know the news around the world? I was missing the buzz of the notifications, and I generally felt very isolated from the world, and I wasn't aware of what was happening. And this was because we were constantly exposed to like everything happening in the world, and I just felt like it was important for me to know things. But in reality, it's not. But I still felt like I'm missing out on things. I was asking myself things like, what are my friends and followers up to? What are they posting? Where are they going? What new restaurant are they trying? And that was also it was about personal validation. I was like, who am I gonna show my gym gains off to? Like, okay, I have a new deadlift PR. Who's gonna see that? And who's gonna react fire to my to my stories? Who's gonna like my stories? Because now I was completely off. I was going cold turkey. I wasn't posting anything. I didn't even have the app, and all these questions were like nagging me. And I'm okay. I had to change location because this is school right beside my house, and the kids were being very noisy, so I shifted. But in a few days, things got better, and I had a lot more time than I used to have, because when you're scrolling, you don't have the track of your time, and then you're losing a lot of time. But now I feel like, oh my goodness, I can save so much time because of this. It was all going well for a few days until I think it was like on the 10th or 12th day, a new problem had crept up, and I didn't even notice the problem being there. And that was, I had quit social media. I mean, I had quit Instagram, yes, but I was scrolling again. But this time I was scrolling on shorts, on YouTube shorts, and the problem kept coming back. The problem was scrolling, and I was scrolling again, but on a different app, even though I'd gotten rid of the initial app, which was actually causing me a lot of trouble. But then I was still scrolling, and that's when I had to bring the anti-scroll police part of my mind, and I actually came to myself and I told myself, you know what, we're not going to scroll, we're not going to wastefully scroll for anything. And that's when I started, bringing a few tips and tricks of how to quit social media, and I started writing these tips and tricks, and I started religiously following these rules I'd set to myself. For example, it was like I was not allowed to scroll shorts. Instead, I was allowed to watch one long video. That way I had my focus on one video, and I wasn't really, getting distracted and wasting time. And after that one video, I was supposed to shut the app. I was supposed to shut YouTube. And several other tips which I talk on my video called How to Scientifically Break Social Media Addiction. I'm going to tag that video's link in the comments or the description. Please do watch it. I think it's a great video because it took a lot of research to actually scientifically break my social media addiction, and finally I was able to do it, and I shared my experiences there. And one of the things that I started doing was developing a new hobby, and to be precise, I was nurturing an older hobby which I want to continue, which is reading. I want to read a lot. I would make New Year's resolution and actually not follow through it. I think this is the first year where I'm following most of my resolutions, and I'm really happy about it, and I'm really happy about how this year is shaping up. And one of the reasons for that was me putting my foot down and telling myself, you know what, we are gonna do it. And with all this extra time that I had, I just thought, you know what, we can continue our hobby, we can nurture our hobby. And I started reading a lot of books, and now I'm sort of addicted to reading books, which is a good addiction, so I don't mind. Kept continuing, and I was easily hitting the 35-day mark. After 35 days of quitting Instagram, I would write down what are the changes that I was going through. The best thing was I wasn't concerned, or I wasn't having the fear of missing out anymore. I wasn't in this constant curiosity of what are my friends doing, what are people doing, where are they going, what are they eating, things like that. I was genuinely disconnected from my distractions. Like, genuinely it happened. It was like I was okay with not knowing what's happening in other people's personal lives. And honestly, it was very liberating because now I was free. Now I wasn't thinking about the things that weren't serving my purpose. And I was calmer. I was suddenly not in this state of always being anxious, or that feeling on your chest where there's something always happening heavily. But then now I was feeling lighter. And also, overstimulation is a thing on social media. You are extremely stimulated here. Like, everything is so colorful and everything is so quick, and it's like this shiny ball syndrome. You're like, oh, look at this, it's so shiny, and then you're distracted. You see one more and you're distracted constantly. You can't focus, and you're like, everything is so shiny, everything is like just so good, and you're constantly in this excited, in this stimulated. And I just felt like this overstimulation was ruining my brain. And now that I'm not exposed to this overstimulation, things were slowing down for the good. And also my taste, my sense of sight or my sense of being conscious heightened in the real world, because when I was on social media, I would be constantly distracted because I was constantly scrolling and I wasn't really doing one thing properly. I was sort of multitasking, and sometimes it feels like multitasking is not really the answer. You need to do one thing properly. And now I was able to do one thing properly, and I was able to slow down, and I was properly stimulated. I was not overstimulated, and I would get excited about the things in real life, like seeing a bird or like seeing something small, which is rare but fascinating. Like I saw a new kind of caterpillar, and I was so excited to see it. Now that I wasn't abusing my dopamine levels, my dopamine levels are actually getting better, and I'm genuinely happy about the things in life. And when I hit the 80-day mark, I was completely detached. Like I didn't want to know things anymore. I didn't want to post things anymore. And I would be asked like, "Hey, aren't you going to the gym anymore? I don't see your stories." When my friends would ask things like this, or my other friend asked me, "You don't go to your usual museums anymore?" Because I love going to I love going to museums, like art museums or whatever. And like, "You don't post about these anymore." And then after some time, the detachment felt good. It felt good to not be tied to something that was not actually serving my purpose, or something that was actually destroying me and my peace. Friends were right. My Instagram was dry now. Let's see, when was the last time I did a post? Oh, that was like months ago. I made a reel. That's it. And one more thing I did prior to actually uninstalling was unfollow most of the people. I was just following like a handful of people, because following a lot of people is very distracting. And now I'm back on Instagram after like 100+ days of not being on it, and I'm not the same person anymore. I've changed. I'm not invested in other people's life at all, like not even this much. Like I'm okay with not watching anyone's story. I only see what I want to see, and sometimes I do scroll, but it's not the wasteful doom scrolling I used to do. And now I genuinely have a lot of control over what I'm doing on social media, because my other hobbies keep me busy, because I have other things which are more exciting and more stimulating for me other than actually scrolling on Instagram. And that, I think, changed me. I am a new person now because I'm not addicted anymore. And that's a great feeling. I used to feel like an addict, and I used to feel these withdrawal symptoms, and my hands would always reach to my phone like just like 10 minutes, 10 more minutes, like I promise to go back to work after that, like 10 minutes. I don't do that anymore, and that's like so liberating, and that genuinely feels great. And that was my experience quitting Instagram for like 100+ days. But now that I'm back, I will post and I will scroll mindfully, and I'm excited to be back to post again. And if you want to see me on Instagram, if you're interested, please do follow me on Instagram. It's Uma Maheshwari. I will link my Instagram also down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And do comment your thoughts about quitting Instagram, and what do you feel about quitting Instagram. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.